Hi guys, this is gshandon.com and I'm here with the unofficial box in which we can find the HTC One A9. So this is more of a preview than an unboxing. However, in this box you will find pretty much all the accessories you will get with the real handset. So the HTC One A9 was launched last year. It was announced on October 20 in USA. And it was very hyped before the debut because it was meant to be sort of like a makeup for the HTC One M9. That was a bit of a letdown. First contact, it's a very light handset, and believe it or not, it's the very first phone with Android Marshmallow that we test. So of course it looks quite a bit like the format of the iPhone 6, but once you feel it in your hand, you'll see that there are some differences. So HTC One A9, it's priced at around $500, and let's see what's inside the, once again, unofficial box. So we got this cable right here, typical for an HTC. The charger, that seems to be pretty generous, and I'm expecting a pretty fast charge. And a pair of headphones that look mighty fine and not very different from what you'll get with the M models. So this has to come on here. Here we go. That's it. I expect ratings from the headphones, and there are also extra plugs in the same little bag. No manual, no metal key or things like that. Once again, not the official packaging. So I guess it's time for the initial setup. You can see that this time we have a home button with the fingerprint scanner. It's a touch button, not a physical one. And the power button has small ridges on it, so it offers you an improved grip and press. Okay, so this phone comes in gray, silver, gold, bordeaux and pink, and it weighs 143 grams. It measures 7.26 millimeters in thickness, and it has a 5-inch Full HD screen. And once again, here at gshandon.com, is the first Android Marshmallow handset we've ever tested, so that's exciting. Inside the phone, there's an octa-core processor, the Qualcomm Snapdragon 617, a 64-bit CPU accompanied by 2 or 3 GB of RAM, depending if you buy the 16 or 32 GB handset model. We got Dolby acoustics here with high-resolution audio, and this time we do not get two front speakers, we only have one speaker here, but it's rather large. So let's start the setup. Terms of use. Okay, networks and other things like that. Skipping stuff, letting Google take some data for various reasons, set up fingerprint, not just yet, personalize the phone, finish, and that's the setup process in a nutshell. So the HTC One A9 looks like this. It costs $500, and in case you feel that UI is familiar, from what I know, this should be HTC Sense 7.0, but you can find that very easily. Software information. So as you can see, HTC Sense 7.0 -G and Android 6.0 behind it. This is Blink Fit, as it says here, and the pre-installed apps are familiar. We got Zoe Video Editor, and let's continue with the specs. I left you at 2 or 3 GB of RAM and 16 or 32 GB of storage. On the connectivity side, we're getting 4G LTE, Wi-Fi 802.11ab GNAC, GPS, and now it's time to talk about the camera. So for the selfies, there is an ultra pixel shooter right here with f2.0 aperture, while at the back, the main camera is a 13 megapixel unit with this dual tone flash next to it and a special sapphire cover that protects it. The camera offered autofocus, BSI, optical image stabilization, and f2.0 aperture. The design involves an unibody aluminum chassis with these antenna cutouts, and once again, while it may be considered similar to the iPhone 6, it's also similar to the HTC One M8, for example. Inside we have a battery with a capacity of 2150 mAh that supports Quick Charge 2.0. On paper, the very same battery should provide you with about 12 hours of video playback. Okay, and aside from the metal chassis, I have to say that this model also comes with a micro SD card slot. You can see we have two slots here, one for the micro SD that supports up to 200 GB, and with the other one for the SIM. The camera on board of the handset is able to do raw capture in the Pro mode, and it can also use optical image stabilization and create a hyperlapse. These are the capture modes that include Pro, with a bunch of subsettings for white balance, exposure, ISO, shutter and auto, of course. Then there's hyperlapse, slow motion, and a few other functionalities that we already know. The fingerprint scanner you can see right here is pretty intuitive, and it also responds for unlocking the screen, for example. The phone is very comfy to hold. It feels much lighter than a 143-gram handset. Let's see what happens if you keep the screen pressed. Change wallpaper and edit theme, add apps and widgets and other things like that. Custom HTC Sense widgets that will get accustomed to while we test this handset. So HTC One A9, no dual speakers here. We do have the speakers here in this area and this one here for calls probably, but we get into that once we test the handset. So a quick look at the phone, just a preview for now, unofficial box, and be sure we'll be back with a full review in a couple of days. For now, my first things to notice is that it doesn't feel like an iPhone 6 in your hand because the edges are less rounded and they're a bit more angular, so while it's comfy, it doesn't have the same comfort of the iPhone 6. This is it from gsm.com. Bye bye.